Has a new star been born? Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Kevin Zwicker from Fast Count coming at you. Before I get into the video, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe. One of the main complaints that I've had about the state of professional wrestling in both AEW and WWE in the year 2026 is we have a lot of familiar faces in the main event scene, guys who have been occupying that space for a while, and at a certain point, it gets a little bit stale to me. I know that you, as a company, probably want to go with the tried and true stars, at least for a good amount of period until it becomes abundantly obvious that there's no more, juice to squeeze out of that orange. But we are now at a time following what took place on Dynamite on Wednesday that it looks as if AEW has prepared to launch another guy into that scene very, very quickly. We got a report, I think around Tuesday, from Sean Ross Sapp that AEW and Tony Khan view Kevin Knight as a big player in the future. And after beating MJF in the opener of Dynamite on Wednesday, it has become abundantly clear that that is actually true. I know that a lot of times the dirt sheet guys, get a lot of flack, because we have these famous instances of them being wrong, or the famous quote from Dave Meltzer, creative change. But in this case, they were on the money. And with Kevin Knight, I think that this has been something that has been organically brewing over the last several weeks, especially after his big TNT championship win. And with a win over MJF, who is probably the most famous non-WWE wrestler in the game currently, I think it is sooner rather than later where we're going to get a Kevin Knight AEW run. And we already saw it be set up after he got that victory over MJF, where we see MJF being on this rampage but wanting to get the AEW World title back from Darby Allin. And you saw him ask Darby Allin for another shot, and Darby tells him no. And he sits there and he goes to Kevin Knight and basically, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, says, "This is a guy who is more worthy of it." And it's interesting because, a lot of times we pay attention to the more bigger free agent signings when it comes to the companies. We pay attention to like a Page coming back to WWE, and you see with AEW all these other high-profile signings that they've made over the last several months when it comes to bringing back somebody like Andrade, and the rumors of, is Aleister Black coming back? Is he not? Did he burn his bridge? But one of the more low-key signings was Kevin Knight, who, if you look back and in hindsight, it was between NXT and AEW, and he took the AEW offer because there was more money involved. As you guys probably know, or if you don't know, NXT offers for a normal person pretty solid money. For the professional wrestling business, not all that great. And for him to sit there and spurn WWE, a chance to go to NXT and potentially get an opportunity to work his way up to the main roster and choose AEW over that, it looks as if he's made the right choice, at least for now. And we've seen a couple of different instances over the past couple of years with WWE fumbling certain talents. Tony Storm, Swerve, and now it looks like Kevin Knight as well. I know that Tony Khan gets a lot of Tony fumbles chance anytime you see somebody like Ethan Page or Ricky Saints on NXT doing their thing, but it happens the other way as well. And it looks as if now that it is starting to pay off for Kevin Knight. And with him being in the tag team with Speedball Mike Bailey and him being the TNT champion as well, it looks as if he has AEW World Championship goal in his future sooner rather than later. I feel as if plans are kind of concrete for the most part going into All In. I feel like the world title match, at least in my mind, is going to involve MJF and Kenny Omega or Will Ospreay. But coming out of that show in July, I think that we're going to see before the end of the year a real significant push for Kevin Knight to possibly have that world title in his hands at the end of the year, depending on if things continue to go on the way that they are after that big time win against MJF. And for me, it's interesting because we look at people and we say, oh, this guy is the main event talent, or this woman is the main event talent. And it's like, how do you know unless you put them in the opportunities to prove that they are or not. You look at a guy like Danielson, who you had, and this was pretty much a shoot for the most part. WWE looking at him as a B-plus player, saying he was a B-plus player on TV, but the crowd pushed him towards the main event, and they signaled to you guys that he is a main event player, and this is the guy who we want, despite not looking like the traditional guy at the time. And with Jet Speed member Kevin Knight, I think that we are now starting to get into a point where it's getting really positive reactions, and things are starting to become undeniable that this is a guy who, within the next several months, is going to be in the title picture. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Did you enjoy that match? Do you think that Kevin Knight is a guy who AEW can start grooming towards becoming a main event player? Do you think that this is something that has become organic? Do you think this is something that is starting to become forced? Are you a fan? And what do you think is going to happen with MJF after losing tonight in the opener of Dynamite? Let me know in the comment section, guys. Please remember to hit that like button and subscribe. I am Kevin Zwicker. I'm out.